Second here. Yep, we're live. Welcome into the Off-Brand Avalanche podcast. Following the Avs' first game of the series against the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Avs dropped this one by a score of 1-0 in what was a bit of a goaltending battle, a bit of a defensive battle, and honestly, the number one thing I'd use to describe the way the Avalanche played is just out of sync. I don't know what you guys thought about that one. It was tough at times.
Something else. I don't really know if this is fair, but I feel like they were kind of outmanned to an extent.
Yeah.
Missing McCarr, Gerard, EJ. The list goes on the D side of the puck. Kind of really came out to show its true colors tonight. We had a bit of a problem, breaking the puck out of the zone at specific times, especially when McCarr and Gerard are instant breakouts, and I feel like that kind of showed a bit. But all in all, I was really only disappointed with the second period. I thought we got completely, outmanned in the second period. First and the third periods, we got our legs under us a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah, I'd attribute, that the loss to mostly rest, in my opinion. That, like you said, Marshall, the Avs didn't really play too bad, except for in the second period where they were just absolutely awful. We had our chances throughout the game. Honestly, Fleury just was on his head all night, honestly.
Yeah.
Even in the second period, we got our chances.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely our worst period, without a doubt. And that was the one Vegas scored in, because that was the one we gave up the most opportunities in. A really nice shot from Pacioretty. Grubauer also played well, which is going to be overshadowed a little bit by how well Fleury played. But two goalies that have both started the season really strong. And at the end of the day, I think the Knights capitalized on their best chance, and the Avalanche couldn't quite capitalize on a lot of chances. It was a lot of just inches here and there that we just couldn't quite get a handle on a puck, or we couldn't quite connect on some passes. There were a lot of passes to empty areas where I felt like McKinnon might have been looking for someone. Maybe he thought Landeskog would have been there, but Saad hasn't quite meshed with McKinnon quite enough yet to know exactly where that pass is coming. And I think we saw some of that with McKinnon, with Burakovsky, with a few guys that just felt like maybe some of it was rust, maybe some of it was shaking up the lines with a lot of Avs guys out, but there were a lot of passes that just weren't quite connecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but if we drop another couple games in the series, it's about time for me to hit the panic button. Just not on the season or anything like that. Just like the Avs winning the first spot and getting a good way into the second round. Honestly,
it's going to be tough to beat Vegas if you don't beat Vegas. Basically, is what you're saying, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
We have to have the season. That's the number one thing for trying to take that one seed, is having the season series advantage over our number one competitors, who I think is pretty clearly Vegas. And dropping the first one's not great. We're not going to make excuses for the Avs, but this was not the Avs at full strength, and I think that was clear to anyone watching and anyone who knew the situation going into the game. But yeah, you're right, Zach. If we need to bounce back, because we play them 3 more times in a row. Worst case scenario, we drop all 3 of those. The one seed's all but out of reach at that point.
Yeah.
The season's not over by any means, but the one seed's going to be real tough to come by.
Yeah, and like we've said in the past, the one seed is very important out west, because right now Anaheim is clinging to that 4 spot with a couple other teams trailing behind. So there's clearly a top 3 in this division, and for us to avoid Vegas or St. Louis, that's going to give us a huge edge on advancing past the first round. Really, I didn't think it was a terrible game by the Avs. I thought at certain times McKinnon had his wheels going, but like you said, Billy, there were times that he just didn't necessarily have the chemistry with Saab, and I don't necessarily think Rantanen had a great game either. So, the first line just kind of looked out of sorts, and honestly, the rest of all 4 lines didn't necessarily look all that great tonight. It was just kind of a weird game, in my opinion. I don't think Vegas played their best game, but they did what they do best, which clogging the lanes and and battling out for those loose pucks, which we saw countless times tonight. How many times, especially with that last minute flurry in the third, that they just got sticks in the right places and disrupted the Avs' chances.
And they were kind of hounding McKinnon a little bit, and I think that's part of the reason that he had a couple of turnovers was just when McKinnon had the puck, he was going it a lot of the time, and he was making good plays. But as soon as he touched it, he was swarmed, which means he had to make his decisions. He had to make his decisions very, very quickly, and most of the time he made the right decision. But they did cause him to panic a couple times and make decisions that we normally don't see out of him.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the defense tonight? I kind of alluded to it earlier. Missing Makar and Girard is kind of a big blow, but I thought there were some flashes and other flashes that were completely abysmal to me.
I definitely think the defense was a downside, but I do want to touch for a second on how well Bowen Byram played. One aspect of his game that I thought shined through a lot tonight, that we didn't necessarily know we would be getting when we drafted Byram, and that's mostly because it's something that doesn't show much at lower levels, such as like playing in juniors, and that is he has very, very good vision. He reads the game well, and he's a patient passer. And I thought he showed a lot of that tonight. When I just mentioned McKinnon was getting hounded and making some bad decisions, it felt like every time Bowen Byram had the puck, he waited until he knew he had a pass. Maybe he didn't always go for the Hail Mary, but he always made a pass to an open guy and made sure that the Avalanche maintained possession.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you continue to see his willingness to go deep into the offensive zone. A couple of times tonight, I'm like, what the heck? That's number 4 down there. When maybe like a typical defenseman wouldn't be. But honestly, those were good reads because he kept the play going. I just continue to be impressed by Byram. And I think him and McDonald, honestly, were our 2 best defensemen tonight. Timmins, he had a couple of completely boneheaded plays. He was, in my opinion, he was the cause for the first goal. Made a terrible breakout pass, trying to get it over to Tays, and that just started the whole Vegas swarm. So
yeah, I mean that one was definitely his turnover. The one thing I will say, but I don't want to hold it against him too much, because there were a couple other turnovers by other players that also could have led to the same thing. It was a regroup later, but the reason Vegas had the puck was because of Connor Timmins. So that is something. He also, I felt like Connor Timmins was all high or all low tonight. There were a couple times where he danced through 3 guys to hang on to the puck under pressure, and I was like, it was a really good play. So we saw some flashes, but we also saw a little bit of, all right, Connor Timmins, maybe you're not quite top 4 caliber, and that's the role that he had to play tonight. He didn't look ready for it. I do like your point on McDonald.
What about McDonald, though?
I liked McDonald.
Yeah.
I kept watching McDonald, and he played a lot with Ryan Graves, too. So I was watching them thinking, if you combined the best attributes of Ryan Graves and Jacob McDonald, you would have one hell of a hockey player. McDonald has all the offensive ability. The one downside I saw with him a couple times was maybe a little too aggressive on the pinch. We saw a couple times that Vegas would get an odd man rush with him out there because he pinched at the wrong time, which is something Ryan Graves is very good at. Always, you very rarely see him get beat on the pinch. When Ryan Graves pinches, he knows he's going to get it. But he doesn't really have the offensive ability that Jacob McDonald does. So I think both of them, played actually pretty well today. But every time I watched them out there together, I just kept thinking, these two could mesh so well if you just combined them a little bit.
Yeah, they did play amazing. And overall, I wanted to touch on the defense. They did, obviously it hurts not having the boys there. But Connor Timmins in particular, I did not think he played overall that bad. I just want to give Pacioretty some credit on that goal. Honestly, that was a snipe. That's an absolute beauty. Not much you could do about that. Although he did turn it over and it was his mistake. I'm not mad about it. And I just think the Avs were really missing those breakout passes in general tonight. You see how important those are for Makar and Girard, and how how quickly it gets us out of the defensive zone and into our offense.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's something that like we had a little bit of it with Byram. Taves maybe not his best game, but still could break the puck out a little bit. But the Avs' biggest selling point is how well they play in transition, and when you're missing three transition defensemen, and maybe not as much EJ, he kind of is more balanced, but can still break the puck out. But Makar and Gerard in particular, it's hard to play well in transition when you can't get those quick breakout passes, which a few of
Yeah.
our defensemen just wasn't in their skill set tonight.
Mhm.
Yeah. And a game that we have both McDonald and Gilbert in, that's not necessarily so great.
Yeah.
Gilbert was completely invisible most of that due to the fact that he only had 8 minutes of time on ice, so can't really evaluate his play too much. But dude, we need Gerard and Makar back, or one of them back, really bad for the next game, in my opinion. And you also see it on the power play. We only had one shot on the power play tonight, and it looked bad. It was like, dude, they were not. Taze was the quarterback on that first unit, and there was nothing going on. It was just kind of
Yeah.
passing back and forth between Taze and McKinnon, and that's not going to work. You need to get everyone cycling, and like I said before, Vegas just had their sticks in all the right places
I think
on that power play.
on the Colorado power play, the best scoring opportunity was Vegas's, so not
Yeah.
necessarily a good sign. I think if they had got another power play, they would have switched it up and put Byram out there, just because
Ooh,
he was going
I
a little
think
more.
maybe, yeah.
I think it would have been definitely a
Did you
conversation
guys
at least.
did you guys catch who the quarterback was on the second unit? I did it. I don't know who it was.
I
Mm-mm.
actually
They
I did I would assume Byram. I mean I don't know who else you would have
yeah,
thrown out there.
I think they spent most of the time in their own zone anyways,
Yeah.
so
They didn't exactly get into the offensive zone to have a quarterback,
yeah.
so but
Yeah.
I assume Byram. I
How
think
about Grubauer?
I like Grubauer. I really like
Yeah,
Grubauer.
Group had a good game.
Yeah.
Grubauer
Dude,
has not just he had a good game. He's had a very very good season, and
Yeah.
if
it's
if he
been
keeps playing
interesting.
like
Yeah.
this, he deserves a fat contract.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I mean he's looking for one here soon. He wants one in the contract year. Byram
And
makes not having Francis hurt just a little bit less right now.
yeah. And it's kind of funny, something that we touched on in the offseason. And honestly, like the whole perception around the Avs is like, oh my goodness, they're Stanley Cup contenders, especially in the forward and D side of the puck. And maybe their one weakness is goaltending. And thus far, it's like Grubauer is the strength of this team, and the rest of them can't necessarily get it all the way together.
Hmm.
Yeah, we've seen flashes, but we haven't seen outside of a couple of really nice games. We haven't seen the Avalanche consistently put everything together. We've seen games where the offense is going. We've seen games where the defense is going. And we've seen a lot of games where Grubauer is going, pretty much all of them. But we've had some issues trying to get all of it going at once. And I think part of that has been injuries. It's
Yeah.
frustrating that we've had to. This has been just year in year out. We're like, oh, why are the Avs always so injured? And part of it's just bad luck. And to
Yeah.
be fair, I saw a couple people talking on Twitter today, pulling up the stats. The Avalanche aren't actually in the top 5 on games missed due to injury this year. There are other
Really.
teams that have had it worse than we have so far. The big problem that
Well,
we've
is
had is that
that
it's
is
coming
that due to
in key
COVID
players.
though?
I think some of them are for sure. Although some of our injuries are also COVID related, so
Yeah, but if we're talking about like the likes of New Jersey and Minnesota and stuff, then
Mhm.
that's a whole different story. I don't
Washington as
necessarily
well.
know that. I feel like that list. We need to take a look at that again and figure out if it's game missed to COVID as well, because we've only had 3 guys that have missed games, and it was this game due to
Mhm.
COVID. So the real problem is that we just can't stay healthy, especially with our important guys. You would have thought that this week and a half off, we would, be mostly ready to go outside of the COVID guys, but then Makar gets injured in practice. Like
Yeah.
that's where the bad luck stems from, man. That's ridiculous. Week and a half off, didn't touch the ice, and then a couple of practices before the game, Makar finds a way to get injured. That's where it's frustrating.
You have to wonder, does it have something to do with that week and a half off? Take a week and a half off
Yeah,
of not skating, then start skating again, and maybe you tweak something. We have no idea what the injury is. It's upper body.
Poor
Um,
body.
so like, we're
Well,
pretty clueless. Go
I
ahead.
have a feeling he'll be back on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
I
I
got
feel
that sense
like,
too.
I, and hopefully we can start getting some of the guys on protocol back.
Hmm.
It's been long enough. I think Landy might be the last guy to come back, but Jost, you'd think that he's going to be back really soon, and same with Gerard.
Yeah.
They were right when the Avs got put on pause.
Speaking of Jost, kind of an underrated absence. Not that we've been talking about how well he's been playing, and the Avalanche penalty kill did still hold up, but I didn't think it looked quite as good without Jost out there as it
No.
has. Vegas didn't score because Grubauer played very well on the PK, but I like it better with Jost. And I'm sorry, but Megna's a downgrade. He had a couple good plays. He had that breakaway rush that drew a penalty, even though it was offsides. It was definitely offsides, but he's a downgrade from Jost, and I think a pretty substantial
Oh,
downgrade from
dude,
Jost.
there's no question. I think we get him back, and the word on the street is that Calvert's also skating, so that's kind of exciting.
Good, yeah.
So if we can get that fourth line rolling again, and get some of these guys back together, then I think we have a really good chance at taking 2 out of the last three of these games.
Yeah.
But we just need to be healthy, and that's the storyline that over the last couple of years, really, like the Avs just need to be healthy, and they are right up there with the top teams in the NHL.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Given where the Avs stand right now, after dropping the first one, we know the injury's going on. We don't know exactly how healthy we will be. Is 2 out of the 4, is that the benchmark? Is that what the Avs need to get to? Is that basically your goal
At this point,
slash
yes.
expectation?
At this
After
point,
losing
yeah.
the first one,
Yeah.
it is 2. You'd like to see the Avs win 3 out of 4 in a series like this,
But it's tough.
especially coming off a break at full strength. Apparently, theoretically, that's what you would like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
you'll take what you can get, and 2 in this is, seems likely in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily reasonable for us to expect them to win the next 3. That's why my benchmark is like just win 2 out of the next win 2 out of the next 3 and really just split this 4-game series with Vegas, and you're right back into contention
Yeah.
Mhm.
for the top spot. Because even if we go 1-3 in this 4-game set, it's still going to be an uphill climb. So
Absolutely. One other thing I want to point out of the next, one of the bigger reasons it's going to be real tough to win 3. As exciting as outdoor games are, stylistically, that's going to favor Vegas, like substantially. Just outdoor games, the ice isn't quite as good. It turns into a bit of a slog. Not as much flashy finesse kind of play, not as much speed. And of the two teams, the team that relies on their speed a lot more is the Avalanche. So Tahoe's gonna favor Vegas a little bit. I'm not saying we can't win that one, but I'm saying if you told me the Avs win 2 of this next 3 and asked me to pick which one we lost, I'm gonna take Tahoe.
could be one of the days. Yeah. We played them twice in Tahoe, though.
Oh, are
So-
both games on that rink? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we played them on Tuesday and then not again until Saturday, which, that little break kind of seems like a good time to fit in one of those missed games, possibly, because I don't necessarily know what the NHL is planning on doing.
Yeah,
Could definitely
Like-
happen.
that's a really interesting question.
That's
when are they
that's
gonna,
a break. Yeah, exactly, Zach.
put up these makeup games? Like, you only have a certain amount of time. Like, after the season technically ends before playoffs start, it's like you don't have that much time to be able to make up games, especially the amount that the league has already missed.
I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah,
to see that happen at all. The other thing, the NHL has done this like 2 days in advance, schedule a game, so I wouldn't rule it out either. The one thing that we'd have to
Yeah.
look at is the schedules of, I guess, Minnesota and Arizona, see where they're
Yeah.
at, if they would be available to play a game those days.
I mean, I feel like weren't these 3 day breaks kind of implemented in order to fit in some of these missed games?
I mean, it makes sense.
That's what
I think.
Yeah.
That was my initial understanding, which was why you have exactly one every month for the Avs.
Yeah. So that would be kind of nice if we could play in Minnesota or in Arizona in between having to play Vegas again. Honestly, I think as the season progresses, and especially if we meet Vegas again in the playoffs, this could be a budding rivalry because there were some tensions, out there tonight, but not as much as I think we're going to see on Tuesday and moving forward. We don't necessarily have a Ryan Reeves type guy though that can, drop the mitts with him. So that would be interesting to see if he drops the mitts with anyone on the Avs.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be if anyone is gonna fight Ryan Reeves on the Avs, I feel like it'd be Landeskog. He's got enough size that he could convince himself that he could hang in there. But I don't think there's anyone on the Avs that would pick in a fight over Reeves at all.
Yeah, I would hope not, at least.
Yeah.
That's an injury waiting to happen if you're an Avalanche player, considering how prone we've been to injuries.
Yeah.
I do see this this turning into a bit of a rivalry, though, especially this season.
Yeah, playing in a division.
Theoretically, the top two teams in the division. Yeah.
And as Vegas has it, the top two teams in the league right now. So.
Yeah.
This is definitely. We haven't really talked about we're all upset that we just lost. This is a very exciting week of hockey for us. We're going to get to see some very, very good hockey games. And, maybe tonight, not the best hockey game, part of that because the Avalanche are at half strength right now. But we're expecting to get guys back. We're expecting to be at full strength or close to it by the end of this week. And I'm really excited for some of these upcoming games just to sit back and watch them.
Yeah. Oh man, it was like Christmas times 2 today, except we didn't even see a goal from the Avs, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
But it's still very exciting to have them back. Days when I know that the Avs are playing, it makes the rest of the day go by so much easier. And just looking forward to watching them play at night. It's super fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited.
I want to get back to the game that we just saw a little bit today. What'd you guys think of the second line? I didn't love it, but they did generate a little bit of traffic. Burakovsky had that one chance. He did drive me crazy on that chance because the defender played it terribly and clearly took the pass instead of taking the lane but leaning over a little bit. And Burakovsky didn't recognize how much room he had. Probably could have gotten a little bit of a rocket off with his shot, but waited just a bit too long. But
I feel like he flubbed it a little bit.
Yeah, he took so long and then put it right in Fleury's pad and then got the rebound. Second line as a whole, what did you guys think today? Because I thought they had their moments, but as a whole, wasn't necessarily impressed.
To me, I think Donskoy was the best player on the second line, so that doesn't say a whole lot. I don't know if that's what you guys feel, but I feel like Donskoy was actually moving his feet. I thought Kadri was pretty invisible. Whenever he touched the puck, it was immediately off of his stick. Mm-hmm. He had a shot late in the third that had a chance to go through. Pretty much from the blue line, kind of McKinnon style shot. That was the first kind of instance that I actually noticed him tonight. So I didn't love really in any of the four lines tonight, but I don't necessarily think any of them stood out as being atrocious.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. The second line just in general has been a theme for the Avalanche this whole season about, just being lackluster in general. And it's probably just because of the COVID season and, you're off to a rough start without a preseason and then you take a week and a half break or whatever it is. So I'm sure it's hard to keep going for these guys, but that second line is it's the bread and butter of the Avalanche, really. It's really complementary to what we have going here. And if they're not working well together, it's kind of a bummer, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
so far the team has gone as the second line has. In the early part of the season when we were slumping, second line was bad. Then the second line got good and we won 3 in a row. And now second line was and we were
Yep. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's it's a bit of a disappointment because before this pause, the second line especially started to find their groove. Mm-hmm. And I feel like having the three of Kadri, Berkey, and Saad on that second line especially is what started to go because they actually started to find some chemistry. And, it's kind of disappointing that you have one player that kind of mixes it up, inserting Donskoy and immediately they lose that type of chemistry. I expect them to get it back going. again really soon, though. I feel like when we get Landy back, that's going to be a huge boost because we saw, the impact that he had on the first line and then the impact of not having Sod on the second line, what that had on the forwards.
Yeah, it's just that trickle down, which is another thing we saw in the defense. What the defense looked like tonight. I think you're going to see people, especially on Avs Twitter or Avs Reddit, talking about, this Avalanche team was supposed to have defensive depth. The Avalanche had great defensive depth. If Jacob McDonald and Dennis Gilbert were subbing in tonight for Ryan Graves and Eric Johnson, we'd have felt really good about how little we had dropped off. The problem is that our injuries are at the top, and when they're at the top, the gaps just get bigger and bigger because it wasn't Sod filling in for Landeskog. Sod was filling in for Landeskog, and Donskoy was filling in for Sod, and Logan O'Connor was filling in for Donskoy, and then Jason Megna was filling in for Logan O'Connor. Yeah. So it's just that trickle down is really what kind of killed the Avs tonight. So it's tough.
If on Tuesday Landeskog's not back, I would kind of expect for Sod to be inserted back onto that second line and bring Donskoy or someone up into that first line. Mm-hmm. That was kind of something that we were touching on before the pause. And Bednar did end up keeping that second line intact. So I would expect that trend to continue if Landeskog's not back.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see. That third wing spot especially on that top line with McKinnon and Rantanen, it's something that I feel like a lot of different players could play. Like you mentioned Donskoy, and I think that's a good one. He could hang there for a couple games, I think, as much as I don't want to see it, I think Jaron Bednar wouldn't be scared to put JT Compher out there, who, to be fair, JT Compher wasn't terrible tonight, but that aside, he's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised to see slide up there just because of how good McKinnon and Rantanen are. That third guy can kind of just be a little bit more opportunistic and take advantage of the role and still play well, kind of regardless of not quite having the skill level of a first-line player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, that guy is Donskoy. We've seen him do it in the past, honestly, and he's got the speed to hang with those guys, so I would not mind seeing him without, if Landeskog is still hurt next game, if he moved up to the first line, I wouldn't hate it.
Well, especially if we can kind of keep that second line chemistry intact. Mm-hmm. They were starting to find it, and I think kind of it's important to have a 1A and 1B situation until we get healthy. And I think the way that we do that is having Mac and Rand kind of try to play with whoever, insert name here type guy, and then the second line, trying to continue on the pace that they were on.
Make it a test for Tyson Jost. Put Tyson Jost on the top line, assuming he's healthy, and say, all right, if you can't produce now, you're never gonna.
Yeah, we'd watch him absolutely explode, and he becomes a 50-goal guy in the future.
That'd be a fun one to watch. I'm definitely curious to monitor the situation. It's hard to project lines for us, right? Because we have no idea who's going to be available moving forward. We've got 5 guys out, and we think they're all pretty close to coming back, but we could have all 5 guys back in this next game, or we could be out all 5 of them in the 3 games from now, and it could be any combination in between there. We don't know who's closest to coming back or anything. It's throwing darts right now.
Hey, we did have the notorious Vegas killer back in the lineup tonight. Belmar, although he didn't necessarily kill Vegas.
He did almost score, though. He had that one shot right at the end, popped out to him.
Oh, man.
Couldn't quite bury it.
I would have been so happy.
Yeah, that would have been a nice one to see.
Yeah. But it's good that we got a couple of boys back, though. McKinnon being back is really good for the Avs, and especially that he's only missed 1 game. So he only missed 1 game, and that break that actually did help McKinnon and Taze and Belmar get back. But it's just frustrating that even though we had a break, we're still losing guys with them not playing games. So,
hey guys, you know what we haven't talked about? This game was on TV. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, what the heck?
All right, so I did my research because last time when we were talking about this, when we didn't know why are some of these on TV, why are the Nuggets games when they're on TNT on TV, but the Avs ones when they're on NBC aren't? All right, I did my research, so let me explain this to the people. So, NBC has games where they have partial rights and where they have exclusive rights. All the other Avs games to this point, they've only had partial rights, and Altitude has also had partial rights. So those games are blacked out because NBC is not allowed to broadcast them in Altitude's jurisdiction. But in this game and in the one on Saturday at Tahoe, the Avalanche or NBC has exclusive rights to those games, which means Altitude's not allowed to broadcast them at all, and NBC can broadcast them in Denver. So I figured I'd touch on that because I was confused, and I think a lot of us have been confused. That is why some of these are on TV and some of them aren't. And as far as the NBA goes, TNT, when they have the rights to games, those rights are typically exclusive. It's just a difference between the way the NBA and the NHL do their deals.
Interesting. Well, thanks for that explanation, because I went downstairs and Zach had it on the national broadcast. I was like, dude, what the heck? Is this on TV? I was confused, but yeah. So Altitude did not broadcast tonight.
Yeah, so there was no Altitude broadcast tonight, basically.
Gotcha. Well, cool. So hopefully Altitude loses its rights to every single game at this point. We can actually watch every Avs game.
I think that's very likely. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Hopefully Altitude just does something here soon. Just bring out a streaming service.
Yeah, are the fans ever going to actually be able to ever legally watch the Avalanche or the Nuggets again? Because it's been about almost 2 years.
Eventually someone's going to go out of business, right? Like
and that's going to be Altitude.
Yeah, true. If it's someone that's Altitude
going out of business.
Yeah, they've got to work out something eventually. I mean, it's out of hand, but we've definitely talked about it a few times on this pod. So if you are curious about our opinions and you're new here, go check out our last couple of pods, because we've had this conversation a bunch of times, and I'm sure we're going to have it a bunch more times because this continues to be a theme.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys think about the Golden Knights unis tonight?
I hate white gloves. I like their jerseys and I like their helmets. I hate white gloves. Just across the board. I don't care what your jersey looks like. I hate white gloves.
Roller hockey style.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like young roller hockey style.
Not as bad as the gold helmets they wore the other day, though.
Yeah, those were brutal.
I was telling Billy, it's like the single team that should have chrome helmets across all sports is Notre Dame.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
Notre Dame has been grandfathered in. They're allowed to have the shiny helmets. Anyone else who pitches the idea of a shiny helmet, Vegas the other night, LA Kings in the Stadium Series game, whoever pitches the idea of a shiny helmet should be fired on the spot, because you are clearly don't know how to design a uniform. Yeah,
those were brutal. And the Silver Knights have also been rocking the silver helmets, the silver chrome.
I don't like it.
So, yeah, not necessarily understanding that move, but whatever. It does look a little bit more golden than the gray helmets, so
true.
I suppose that's maybe what
if you're going for accuracy, they are more golden Knights.
Yeah, hopefully they got chirped. But for those unis,
oh, for sure.
I bet they don't wear them again. It's gonna be like when the Avs were planning on wearing the blue buckets with the white jerseys. They got chirped so hard, they're like, "Hey, maybe we don't roll these out anymore."
Yeah.
All right, guys. I know this has been a bit of a shorter pod. We've had a lot of time off and a little bit of low energy, especially after a kind of low energy game. Just, I guess, not necessarily low energy, but low scoring, low event. You guys got anything else to throw in before we kind of pop on out of here for today?
Not really anything from me. It's time to go watch the Nuggets. Hopefully they can take down LeBron.
Yep.
Ready to wrap her up.
I think our viewers have the same idea. They all want to go watch the Nuggets as well. But before you do go watch the Nuggets, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Only about half of our viewers are subscribed to the channel, so if you're not, come on, join in. Take that plunge. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later. If you're not watching this on YouTube or now Twitch, where we stream these live after every game that we can, might miss one here and there just because we have other lives. But, if you're not watching these there live, you should check us out because it's the best time to get us, and it takes a fair amount of time for us to actually be able to download all these VODs and then upload to all our other platforms, whether that's iTunes, Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts. But hey, if that's where you like listening to them, we won't blame you for listening to them anywhere. So that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for watching, and we will see you